Johnson here going into game number 4. Well, I don't know about you, everyone at home, but I certainly feel motivated. It's Sejuani and Silas banned by RNG. It's Vi and Poppy banned by LNG as we head into game 4.
You know what? If I'm RNG, I'd say I've never gone wrong trusting my gut. And with drive and a bit of talent, you can you read that?
You can move mountains.
Yeah, I would say that's what RNG are thinking right now.
I think the long and short of what you guys are saying is that all of this is quotes from The Rock, right? And they needed The Rock in that last draft because they should have picked Talia.
Yeah.
I thought we were going with Malphite.
Well, I was trying to tie it back into this series, but
I feel like a Talia, a more aggressive bot lane, something that could do a side lane they could play out of, right? They had the Ahri Wukong, they needed a lane that they could pivot that to, and now going into game 4, coming up with the first pick, I mean, Zeri's still open, but RNG Zeri prio all along has been really low, but the Yuumi is there.
But it's the Lulu ban as well. Like, so even if you get the Zeri, the Lulu won't be able to pair alongside it. So now you're kind of looking at going probably more towards the Lucian Nami if you want to, but looks like LNG thinking, hey, we really want to deny this Zeri away, but definitely going to make it more interesting towards what the support that's going to be paired with this Zeri in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking, like we said, Zeri could be the takeaway if they don't want to go towards that aggressive option once again and give this deadly combo over. Jungle option still left available as well. We've seen the Poppy and the Vibe bands now become mainstays after that one coming through. If they did this and like swapped one over to mid or top, I'm in.
That'd be sick.
We need spice.
We
LNG needs spice.
we certainly do. They certainly do. I mean, I wouldn't expect it, yeah. And I think it will be swapped out in the end. Just kind of taunting Gala saying, we know what you're going to play. But this Kennen has been banned out for a lot of the series and also would be somewhat of a denial of that Jackson Breed.
I mean, Ala has performed really, really well on this. And as you say, like, gives you a lot of opportunity now to kind of have a strong matchup, denies things like the Nard, denies things like the Jack. So for RNG, they will go back over towards the Wukong, will be the Sivir just to match the Zeri. Was curious if we'd see something a bit unusual like the Twitch or anything like that, get that Tom and Jerry bot lane, but won't be the case for game number 4.
And I wonder for LNG, I mean, do you just opt into something like a Trundle here and just get that like guaranteed, you know, S-tier jungle that is still open? Or if they want to show their hand at something else. This is something we haven't seen for a few games from them, but obviously they were bringing out was really good at not only attacking sides, but coordinating dives into fights, right? Nocturne going in at the same time as the Kennen coming off on a flank, and it puts so much pressure on the enemy AD carry.
And just look at this composition from LNG so far, right? This screams LNG at you with the Nocturne in the mid lane, the Kennen up in the top side as well. I feel like LNG have come into this one and said, look, we're playing our game. We're coming in strong the way that we've won in the past.
And one of the big things about Doomby with this Nocturne was how good it was he's trying to feed into side lanes, lean to cover plays towards things like Rift Herald, making sure you catch out, you know, the likes of top laners that are overextended or were trying to group up, immediately turn on top of them. So I think Breed's definitely going to have his work cut out from here, and especially when you're more than likely going to see like not a huge amount of easy to execute top lane picks into this Kennen. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how the RNG top laner operates.
I'm really curious to see where LNG go, more specifically with their support pick, right? You know, the typical thing we see being banned out, the Lulu. We have had some teams prioing that Renata. I actually believe it was in the series RNG against EDG where that one was coming on through. But LNG's composition being a lot more of, you know, wanting to go and wanting to be the ones to find the fights on their own terms.
You just don't get a huge amount of value from the Renata against something like the Sivir because the spell shield Yuumi because she's attached to the Sivir, so she doesn't get hit. So, I mean, you can see RNG getting rid of the Rakan, getting rid of the Nautilus, saying, look, even if you go for the Renata, it doesn't really matter. And it doesn't really work really with what LNG want to do, right? Everyone wants to dive in.
Fights their win con. So Leona's still up. You know, we have seen it rear its head a little bit. The Amumu is also something that we have seen just a bit. Lumao having only played both of those champion tech. Amumu only once. Leona only 2 times so far. Alistar's another one that can typically go against Sivir because of how the interaction works. But LNG this time around, actually going to bring out the Gragas.
Is that a Gragas support or maybe a Gragas jungle potentially?
I think it's the Gragas support. Like, the cask is kind of the idea that if you ever detaches Yuumi, you hit her with the cask and then you can immediately jump onto her. But, I mean, still not exactly the greatest of picks, I feel like, in this situation, especially when you're trying to dive. Gragas more of that peel support.
The alternative is it could be it is always LNG. You got to talk about the craziness. Could be Gragas up top and the Kennen going to the mid lane for 2 and B. Who knows, honestly. The Fiora locked in.
That would actually be the Icon special. That was what Icon did back in regional finals in 2021. So maybe an old school shout out there, but we'll have to see exactly what the plan is. Doomby has also played this mid don't forget as well. And it could be the Nocturne jungle. So still keeping with that flexibility here for LNG. Looks like Xiaohu hovering towards the LeBlanc. The Talia still there, though. I don't know if you want to go towards it.
Another icon special.
Yeah, true.
As the LeBlanc is locked in. And finally, LNG have to reveal what they're doing. Hovering junglers here, though, makes you think that it will be that Gragas support.
Yeah, looking for something with agency. I love this. Both drafts this time around, I feel like, have lanes and have areas they can play around with this Lee Sin coming out. You can see LNG, they took the win last game, but definitely wanting to push the pace this time around. You have this like heavy dive composition, Nocturne and Kennen going in at the same time. Gragas, another champion who can look for the engage, split the fight with the cast, and then Tarzan setting it all up with the Lee Sin.
I mean, we were talking about the comfort for Doumbé and Ala. I mean, Tarzan on Lee Sin, is there a more comfortable pick for this jungler? This feels like LNG are very much playing for themselves here, playing their own style, playing their own win condition.
Yeah, it definitely feels like for LNG, getting a ton of dive opportunities, you say, like looking for flanks is going to be great. For RNG, I think you got a good amount of poke, though, with the LeBlanc, trying to see if you can make a few of these targets that are looking for that backline dive a little bit squishy. The opportunity to play side lanes relatively well with the LeBlanc and the Fiora as well is going to be a big win con, and just great wave clear with the Sivir. So once again, if you can get an early lead here for RNG through your solo laners, you should be in a really good spot.
Yeah, I feel like two like very different compositions, right? For LNG, it's going to be a lot about those 5v5s, finding angles to come in. For RNG, it's going to be about playing those side lanes initially to pivot, to get first move, to shut those angles down that LNG can find.
RNG once again trying to suffocate the composition of LNG, but Doumbé, when his back's against the wall, and now with a bit of momentum, goes back to this Nocturne. They've got that Seri once more. Lumar bringing out a Gragas support, for goodness sake. This is not something I expected in the series, but it's definitely something I'm excited for. LNG's miracle run ain't over just yet. They're coming in to game number 4. All cylinders firing on full blast, but RNG never out of the conversation. They've got a solid comp, and we'll see if they can keep their series alive too.
And I think this game, right, we're going to be looking a lot more up towards that top half of the map. Soul laners and actually even the level 1 going to be going straight towards that top side to see if they can set Ala up for success. But Breathe not going to fall for it. But still, right, for LNG, wanting pressure up in that top side, having Tarzan enable that before Doumbé hits level 6 mark. And for the side of RNG, you have these two very potent soul laners, Breathe wanting that 1v1, and Xiaohu on the LeBlanc, a champion that works so well in like combo with his jungler to get off the ground running.
We'll see if they can get that ground. If they can get the ground running, we'll see if they can get off of the
Talia
ground.
is not in this game.
Hey, I got the sofa giving us information earlier in the day. So.
It's true. It's been a bit of a wacky cast. It's been a bit of a wacky series, honestly. But I would say that's what LNG prefer, a bit of wackiness in the game. You can see that in this draft with Luma. I mean, talk me through this Gragas support pick. I feel like there were things like Leona available. There were plenty of support still within the meta that they could have gone for.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised just for in context of how LNG as a whole want to operate, right? Because it feels like you're definitely got a huge amount of dive, trying to get in on towards the back line with Doumbé, with Ala, even with Tarzan held to a certain extent as well. A lot of damage top, but I think it's just something that can work relatively well against the Yuumi. If Yuumi ever detaches, fling yourself at her, even if you flash on top of her with the body slam, immediately you get that CC, so Yuumi can't reattach. Cass can do a similar job as well, and in the middle of fights, if Ming ends up getting caught out, you just immediately turn onto the Yuumi and kill her.
I also feel like, right, Gragas is someone who brings like a little bit of lane presence in the sense that like you have those casts that you can throw out pretty consistently with your Q and like, you know, do have the range damage fall through. And then in team fights, being able to either knock someone away or isolate a target for potentially Doumbé and Tarzan to just jump on top of in one shot. So I think there are some interesting ways that it can navigate, but I mean, it's going to be all down to how LNG do play this one through. We even see both AD carries this time around going towards the Ghost, a lot more about the 5v5s.
We'll see if they're going to be able to find those 5v5s for themselves, though, because it's a matter of, so far, very slow early games, but not slow because nothing's happening, slow because Wei keeps on trying to suffocate Tarzan out. He's doing it again as Tarzan does grab his red buff. Wei will spot him and now chasing him into the jungle as well. We're going to see a little bit of a battle between our junglers here as Tarzan looks for the Q, does find it before the clone comes on out, and now re-engages once more. I thought Wei was going to get away with it, but no, 1 HP here. Tarzan has the bit. Wei completely fumbles it. It's a great Q onto Xiaohu as well. Tarzan going to follow up here, Doumbé alongside him. him, dodges from the chains, and now Breathe the target. Sonic Wave available, but will not commit. On to Xiaohu instead they go. LNG feeling it in game number 4. Xiaohu the target, spotted by the Tempest here as Tarzan. We said he's got comfort, but his comfort's denied. Xiaohu finds an answer here. He will go down, but at least he got one.
And you're saying LNG are feeling it now in this game, but RNG were the ones who opted into all of that. Way's the one who invaded. Xiaohu and Breathe flashing over walls to be able to follow up. And now Doinby gonna have double buffs once we get back to mid lane. Can spam that Q, gonna have more damage when going for the trades. And everything already going awry for RNG.
We're going to 5 games, aren't we, lads? This is all I'm feeling right now. Tarzan here. Just really good job, as you say, like, Wade trying to see if he could predict when the Sonic Wave was coming out, but not quite able to do so. Has the clone and then failing the flash here over the wall. He's trying to use the fact that he has the healing coming through from his passive, but with the red buff already ticking on him because Tarzan had gotten it, he's just not quite able to do so. Now, Tarzan hunting for the Monkey King to see if he can try and spot him out.
And that's the big thing. Now with no flashes on all of the RNG top side, right? LNG feeling a lot more comfortable to look for these invades. Doinby should be able to do a nice job keeping up pressure with the fact that he has that blue buff, will have that mana on lock, and can just keep pushing these waves. And look at Lumao. I mean, going up against the Yuumi, he's going to have so much freedom to move around the map. And it feels like with this early start, LNG should be able to do whatever they want.
Tarzan just walking into the face of Way there to steal away chickens. Light alone in this bottom side, but ultimately, you've got a Yuumi in the bottom lane. It's not like they can dive in.
And this is something that Jordan talked about already earlier on, is that when you have a Yuumi, you're very much held to that bottom lane. Lumao being able to now work with Tarzan, work with Doinby is going to be great. And this is only going to become worse when Doinby hits 6 as well, because Tarzan, Lumao linking up, trying to go for these invades, and suddenly you get Doinby who can join in cross-country as well.
Especially looking forward, right? We're already at the point where mid laners are at level 5. Going to be looking for once Doinby hits that level 6 mark, especially for his first Paranoia. I mean, pretty much all, you know, global / semi-globals, right? We always talk about how key that first use could be in setting the pace for a game. And when Ala already getting such good trades up in the top side, it might signal a very easy, you know, route for Doinby to look to use that.
Oh, who just went in? Lumao is hovering off the side, has that flash if they can try and find it, but looks like they're just trying to make sure that Doinby can get in. Actually, I'm not sure. I want to see Doomby's experience there. I think the fact that Lumao took that CS experience, they shared it, means that he doesn't hit 6 off that wave.
Which is kind of sad because you can look at what's happening on the mini-map right now, right? Tarzan was already angling up. The fact that Lumao was hovering around mid gave Doinby the freedom to push a lot more aggressively. And I think LNG were setting up for either a play onto Breathe or just going for this invade.
And I think you're right, Dr. because Xiaohu just hit level 6 as well off of that same wave. So unfortunate there for Doinby. But the Skull Crack still going to go the way of Tarzan. But like you say, that aggression denied a little.
I actually think he's a little bit further off because you see the whole wave is cleared. Tarzan, on that initial invade, they wanted to go for Raptors, helped clear the way for Doinby. So I think that shared experience kind of slowing down that push now. But again, Tarzan hovering around mid. Doinby does ping 6 and no flash.
Xiaohu goes in, but forced to use that Mimic just to keep himself like Tarzan taking basically a full wave there. Now that's tax.
Yeah, I mean, look, the late game scaling Lee Sin, you want to make sure he gets all that gold. But realistically, I think it does actually, you know, Doinby obviously will get an opportunity to reset now if he wants to, because all he's really sitting on is a tier and a boots. Not a huge amount to write home about, but now moving back over towards the blue buff, looks like he wants to try and stay out on the map as long as possible, especially if he can push this wave and then maybe immediately look for play with the Paranoia. But I feel like you want to get some sort of AD into your kit before you go for that Paranoia play.
Yeah, for LNG, though, it seems like they're still being open to options, right? They've covered towards both sides of the map now, just in case either lane can find heavy trading. You don't expect too much to come out from Light and Lumao in terms of being able to get that damage to stick because there is a Yuumi on the opposing side. I liked what they were angling for in those first few minutes in terms of like, hey, Light should be mostly fine by himself to just catch waves and trying to have Lumao be more of that facilitator on the map. It should be hard to find a gank in mid, but even if that just gives Doinby more freedom and more opportunities to start moving with Tarzan, I think that's exactly what LNG need.
Feels like that could be the recipe for success here for LNG. It's a solid start. It's, you know, a whole 200 gold lead here as we approach the 8-minute mark. I don't know. Big deal. But Herald now spawning onto the map. And it does feel like LNG, the ones with proactive tools here to try and make that Herald.
Yeah, and this is where it gets a little bit awkward, right? Because it's Breathe, you can see him trying to lean down. But say if Tarzan spots him out here, immediately Doomby with the paranoia can go up towards that top side, very quickly close the gap. So you have to be so careful how you move through this topside river as RNG. It's something LNG did incredibly well in their series over playoffs, especially against teams like EDG.
Yeah, and we can see now, you know, talking about that, talking about setting up, RNG trying to find a way onto Doinby. I love that they're setting up this play itself because, right, one of the things about Nocturne being in mid lane, I mean, you're not mobile. Like, if they go for a gank, if they can find a flash and just stay on top of him, which LeBlanc and Wukong both do amazing at, they will be able to find the kills.
Okay, final chapter comes on through. It's a double route there. Wei has the level 6, but can't quite get onto the play. So Doomby and Lumao both surviving. This one means they're happy to continue presence onto this Herald.
I still think it's huge, right? It's good that Wei didn't commit with the Cyclone because Herald's up. So you want to save that for a potential big team fight. But chunking them low, giving yourselves pressure in mid so you can move first could open up a better opportunity for Wei to use a Cyclone.
See if they can find that opportunity. Xiaohu moving over. And crucially, we talked about Ming not being able to get out of that bottom lane on the Yuumi, but still committed to this top side for the time being.
All
and we'll
5 members.
RNG can actually find this one. As you say, 5 members here. And Light, you can see he's not sure whether or not he's going to move on up, staying on the bottom side, but now starting to move in the river.
Yeah, Light on his way. You got Doomby who can still join from mid with the paranoia. So RNG trying to coax this Rift Herald down. Actually looks like they're just going to try and engage on towards Doomby. But Doomby kind of reading that before it goes awry.
And you can see both sides kind of playing to a different lane. For LNG, they're waiting in top brush, waiting for if Breathe wraps around to try and find a pick. And for RNG, I like that they aren't overcommitting, knowing that they don't see Light in bottom lane anymore, kind of hoping he makes his way up towards mid and they can find and engage of their own. So RNG now, they're going to wrap around, but they're going to be spotted.
They certainly are. And Ala, remember, he's on this cannon. Oh, they've got a full flank. LNG have RNG in the middle of everyone. In goes Doinby. Keep your eyes on Ala. Lightning comes on down, but it's only onto the clone for the time being. Wei gets out with his life. That's a lot used. Now the Cyclone comes on out. Ala, the first target, taken down by Gala. Light arrives on the scene here. 4v5. Breathe in the middle of everyone, though. Should be taken down as Xiaohu chased out by Tarzan. Light will not let Breathe get away, but that's not a duel he can take as Breathe slides out of the bottom side of the play. Xiaohu has to escape too.
Xiaohu just about managing to get over the wall, but great Cyclone from Wei. Stops that going as poorly as it could for RNG, but the fight doesn't feel like it's over. We still have the TPs that can come back for him. Breathe can come back for Xiaohu.
I'm just surprised it didn't go more favorably for RNG because we saw pretty much slicing Maelstrom, Paranoia, all of it. Not really used on anyone. Much like you said, all on the clone coming out from Wei and leaving it in a precarious position, but still RNG forced to go back because a lot of damage did still connect onto various members of RNG.
I think the big one was the kick from Tarzan, getting Wei back out with the Cyclone, making sure that Wei couldn't set up for the rest of the team. But now RNG again, kind of looking at these low health bars, looking at how much was used by LNG, I feel like they might be able to go back over towards the Rift Herald.
I will say, lads, this is a bit more like it. This is what I've been looking for all series. We get some fights out of our teams. We get the big cannonball, even if it didn't quite connect. We get the plays, the proactivity from LNG.
And watch here. Look, you'll see the clone with the Cyclone stops that big engage from Doomby, stops the big engage from Ala. But when you get the flash in from Wei here, keep your eyes on Tarzan. Immediately kicks the Cyclone back out. So although Ala goes down, well then you actually have good turnaround from LNG who are using this wall to separate RNG into opposite sides. Breathe forced the flash away. Light getting a little nervous, I think, once he saw the Grand Duo go down, or the Grand Challenge go down, but Wei now on top side to match for Tarzan.
Ala has that ultimate available, and Breathe realizes he's in all kinds of trouble. Slicing Maelstrom, not even needed. Surplus 2 requirements here, and that's huge for LNG.
And, you know, like looking at this, and even going back to what Dag just said about that last fight, take a look at RNG's comp. It's not really tanky, not really that bulky whatsoever. If Wei's taken down, it's actually very fragile, very hard for them to commit and to stick with any fight compared to LNG, to where they pretty much have, right, Bruiser in jungle, kind of Bruiser-esque assassin in mid, a Gragas for support. They can stay in these fights for very long.
And that's why they're trying to get that resources into Breathe on this top side. If Breathe can take over the side lane, draw Allah away from the fights, suddenly something like a Slicing Maelstrom coming in onto 5 members won't be as prominent of an issue. And maybe Breathe can have opportunity to play on sides, because at the moment, 30 CS down, it's not exactly going great for Breathe in the top lane.
And not even just Breathe, right? Just RNG as a whole, having the LeBlanc in as well. Once we get to these, like, past first turret going down, wanting to pull the members of LNG apart, and they are going to isolate Allah for now.
Allah, no flash available, but Slicing Maelstrom in his toolkit here, waiting for Xiaohu to commit to the play. The chains are going to go down here. Breathe should be able to finish the job. The healing comes on through, and now that Herald can be used.
Yeah, we see Herald now can be used, but still, LNG having a nice answer, taking Dragon, getting plates in mid. They force Scala and Ming out in bot side as well. So at least the response is there, because in previous games we haven't exactly seen, you know, tons of cross mapping coming through.
Yeah, I think it's good to see, though, at least that RNG are managing to get some early gold for themselves, because it was starting to look a bit dire, as we already kind of talked about. Now, though, we have to see what the response is from LNG, because they're hunting for Xiaohu. They're aware he's there.
Ooh. Xiaohu goes back in. Tarzan right next to him, gets the slow for himself, and Tarzan is pretty scary at this point in the game. Xiaohu backs off. It's a Sonic Wave here. His mind is telling him no, and his body's going to listen this time around.
Yeah, good for him. Would have been rough. The paranoia was there, and I thought there was a chance. They follow it through, but in the end, just going to take the small wins they got. Plates and bot, Dragon picked up, but for RNG showing where they want to put all their gold, the fact that Breathe getting all of that towards the top side, and now with top lane open, right, that is an extended lane that Breathe can look to punish and abuse Allah in that 1v1.
We're going to have to see if they're going to be able to find that, though, because at the moment it definitely feels like, at least with Doomby having the paranoia and Nerdy hitting that level 11, he should be able to lean towards that top side, make it a little bit more of an uneven fight for Breathe. And with so many of these towers still standing for RNG, it feels like that's going to be their big issue for pushing the game forward. It feels like they need another Rift Herald to really get control over these lanes.
It is going to be really interesting to see his way. I think not exactly knowing how many members were there to start off with, but like you said, even though LNG don't exactly win in the 1v1s inside, having that paranoia can affect it. So for RNG, whether they're going to try and commit Xiaohu more to leaning with Breathe, or if they're going to be fine just playing out pure 1-3-1, leaning down to Xiaohu's side, and hoping they could find more away from Breathe than what LNG would be able to pick up.
Honestly, at this point, I'm just excited that when you look at the gold, 15 minutes in, we are dead even between RNG and LNG here, as Allah continues to put pressure onto Breathe in that 1v1. Still that 30 CS lead for himself. See Xiaohu and Wei considering the idea of moving up. Tarzan did reset, so no support there, and Allah will back off.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much moving about. This is where we started off, started off strong, but it definitely feels like we're getting to a point now where both teams kind of realizing again there's a huge amount on the line. A spot at the World Championship will be decided over the course of these next 2 games, and it's slowing down once more. LNG trying to find their window to just crack open RNG that little bit, and same with the likes of Breed, trying to see if he can find that big advantage over his counterpart.
And I think there's more at stake here than just going to Worlds for the side of RNG. It's also RNG proving that they aren't just the Empress of Spring, right? Xiaohu himself, 2 kills in this game, like so often touted as the guy that always wins Spring, but can never keep it going in Summer. He wants to make it back to Worlds and prove that that's not the case anymore.
Also, just not have another reverse sweep.
I know.
After losing to EDG, who are the ones that are always said to be in charge in Summer, having that reverse sweep come through, RNG now find themselves with a potential not to get into group stage for Worlds, to go into play-ins, the MSI champions potentially in that play-in stage, and they will definitely be trying to show that they can once again get to that spot.
Oh, Xiaohu though, LNG kind of angling for a pick. We need to remember he's on the block, very mobile, even still has his flash up, so nothing going to come through. But with Dragon coming up in a minute 30, seems like both teams wanting to put some emphasis around this bottom half of the map. But hey, if RNG can keep push up in topside with the Fiora, the next Rift Herald is actually going to come up even sooner, and RNG can try to find it, can keep trying to even find a gold lead at this point, right? Because right now they are slightly down. If they can get into a place of momentum, that's where champions like LeBlanc especially really do thrive. Being able to play over those walls when you're choking enemy out from vision, set up for picks, and not allow entry for the side of LNG.
We'll see if they're going to be able to find that momentum for themselves. It's 4-3 on the scoreboard, and I was thinking this is going to be a much more aggressive game. After how the first Rift Herald fight went, I felt like things were speeded up a bit, but it's going to be a fairly slow one once more. But that can be expected in a matchup between RNG and LNG. RNG, though, you said they wanted to find momentum, and the Herald might just be that answer. But in 45 seconds' time, that Drake comes up, and you can imagine LNG will want to answer with it.
LNG already have full vision control over bot, right? We can see it now. They have some wards around the Dragon Pit. Doonby already pushing in bot on the minimap. Tarzan making his way down. And since they already got the first one, they're kind of setting themselves up with this, insurance policy of getting to Soul Point and having answers for what RNG have picked up.
You just have to be so careful the cross map from RNG, right? Like, you go commit members for Dragon. Well, Saber can push away very quickly in mid. They rotate up, try and take a tier 2 top. Maybe they try and look for mid lane turret as well. So it's not as easy for LNG to just kind of brute force their way into River. They do actually have to make sure that they're drawing RNG into that fight, looking for flash engages with Ala, with Tarzan, Doomby being able to follow up.
Yeah, worth mentioning as well, this breeds Fiora up in the top side. You get another Herald up there with half of the tier 2 already gone. You're looking at inhibs. That's a scary moment for LNG. But with the Drake going their way, LNG will find themselves in control when it comes to that third Drake.
Again, though, this is something we kind of spotted from RNG over the course of this series. Reset timers haven't been great for Dragons. Now they're back on the map, right? But LNG have gotten the Dragon. You're not being able to respond for the Dragon take or the resources committed by LNG to that bot side.
And I love that LNG are looking for this aggressive push when they have tools, when they know that RNG don't have vision on this side of their own jungle. They should be able to get this. I don't expect them to commit to a full fight, but still, even just being able to get away with a red buff, nice takeaway.
And time wasted here is time that's not being used on that Rift Herald, right? You can't actually get control over mid lane as Gala right now because you got to be so worried about the rest of LNG suddenly showing up beneath you. So he's got to play it safe. Breathe will get some time alone on this top side, but it is being answered by Doomby, who can now lean towards mid lane and start to go for that potential ult play.
Oh, paranoia.
Underneath the tower they go, but the final chapter will lock Doomby up. There's Tarzan with a Cyclone, but Lumao disengages, and the Cyclone will just be a knock-up. Wei gets under the tower, gets that move speed. Now Xiaohu looking for a little bit more, but Light doesn't want to give the ward up anytime soon.
I like that LNG are looking for these aggressive plays because this is a window where they can take fights, but it feels like just taking it too close. Xiaohu.
Oh, the laser will spot him out. Xiaohu dodges it though. TP back into the mid lane here from Doonby. Gala could be the target. No paranoia available, but Tarzan trying to get behind enemy lines. Xiaohu could be feared, but jumps away. It's going to be a flash kick coming out from Tarzan. They all jump on board, and Xiaohu is down.
Full-on chaos coming out from LNG. It looked like RNG would be able to get away scot-free, but not expecting Tarzan to come on the flank, and even finding a kick onto a member we said it's hard to pin down, like a LeBlanc with a flash, but he gets it done.
And that's the one. The flash was still there for Xiao, who he doesn't expect Tarzan to commit the flash over the wall and pays dearly for it. Now RNG is trying to sneak out if LNG are doing this Baron, but instead they're just going to move towards this top side and make sure they can help support Doomby in going for this top tower.
And for RNG, we were saying if they can get control over an area, get this vision down, this is where, again, people like Xiaohu can really do a lot, him linking up with Wei to make things happen. But actually, with the TP situation right now, they kind of have to commit Xiaohu down to bot side. We see him moving there now. Breathe doesn't have the TP, so Breathe has to be the one playing up towards the top half of the map, which sure, you will still keep up pressure, but it does take away some of the potential pick threat that you do have.
Yeah, and here, I think it just unfortunate decision-making from Xiao, who tries to go back towards mid lane, doesn't realize that Tarzan's in the bush, and immediate flash over the wall as the fear comes through from Doomby as well means that there's just no escaping there for Xiao, who I think he needed to distortion the wall and flash away, but thinking he had the safety in mid, thinking he could hold on to his flash, comes back to bite him.
They need to drop Rift Herald right now, boys.
Yeah.
That is about to time out.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find a window to drop it. You can see Wei moving up the mid lane here. Looks like he should just have to drop it in that lane. I really wish we could see the scoreboard so we could see how long is left on that timer as it's just trades between the AAD carries. Did it time out? Okay, no, he did drop it just at the bottom lane there.
Yeah, I think he was moving bot side to just try and sync this up with a wave, because there was no way he was going to get a wave in mid lane to try and make that play. But you can, again, use this to get more turrets, gold for Breathe, try and create this monster and a Fiora who's nearly towards our 2 items. But again, you can see this is going to be defended at the moment with Tarzan and Ala.
And, you know, for LNG, they actually are on 2 item spikes. They're feeling really good right now. Ala having his 2-item mark. We see Randuin's coming out for Doinb. This would be another avenue where it'd be great. And sadly, Rift Herald not getting any value.
Real close to getting that charge, but Ala managing to DPS it down in the end, even using that rocket belt just to finish it off. And as you say, no value for RNG. A minute until that next Drake comes up as well. It feels like LNG, despite only a 1,000 gold lead, are fully in control.
There's no way RNG get reverse swept twice over the weekend. I know we're a while away from that, but it definitely feels like LNG are getting control of this game, corralling RNG into positions where they have to fight for things like this dragon, and you've got a much stronger team fighting squad for LNG.
And lads, you have to start to bring up the conversation of what happens in the heads of RNG if they end up losing this second game after just being reverse swept by EDG. Like, you know that the players are going to start to think about this, start to question themselves, and it comes down to mental fortitude they're moving on in the series.
If there's one thing I will say about RNG, right, I mean, in both MSI finals, they showed that they do have mental fortitude.
I don't know if it's mental fortitude or just they don't care. Like, every time they come off of a game, they neither seem happy, nor sad, nor content, nor frustrated, nor there is zero emotion. They are just robots that are built to play League of Legends, and that is
the future to play League of Legends. Yeah, it definitely feels that way when you see them on the camera sometimes. 5-3 on the scoreboard as LNG set up for this Drake. Keeping my eyes on Ala, but light forced to flash by Xiaohu. Nice little opportunity.
And that was exactly what we were talking about, what you can do with LeBlanc, right? So much threat over terrain to make it so enemies can't enter, but LNG having multiple avenues because they have that push and bot to play with.
And Gromp there as well is going to be great. Light already healing up with the Immortal Shield Bow, now gets the heal as well with the Gromp. RNG being flanked on, but don't realize that they haven't spotted out Ala.
Ala could be the miracle maker here for LNG. They want this third Drake. They want to get Soul Point to him. B goes in. He's on to Gala here. Ala trying to close the gap. Immediately ults onto the Sivir. There goes Gala. There goes Wei. And there go RNG's hopes to this dragon. But LNG, they're saying, forget the Drake. We want the purple worm.
And they will move over immediately towards that. Gala is the consistent damage for RNG, and he is gone immediately from the fight. Great play from LNG.
LNG, they lean on comfort picks. We see the Nocturne cannon once again and what you can do with the coordination. And even just the displacement coming out in that fight between Elise and Nagragas going to lead to the Baron. But we'll break this one down right away. As Dagda, I'm going to give it to you.
They just really nice timing on the paranoia there. There was a ward that could have spotted out where Ala was, but they don't realize that Ala's actually made it to the back line because of that vision denial. So Ala gets onto Tarzan. You get the follow-up. Gets onto Gala, Tarzan with the follow-up with the kick, and just really nice job from LNG. Great coordination again with this Nocturne pick.
And it's crazy when you see fights split in two directions like that, and yet both sides of the fight are won by one team. That's how you know that they're pulling ahead, and you can see it. The gold now, 5,000 gold lead. It felt like they were even a moment ago.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to the fact that we said for LNG, it is about being able to dive in, being able to find these fights. They did a great job of controlling vision on that bot side. They've consistently gotten to the area before RNG can respond. And for RNG, we're saying it's a lot more about playing through those side lanes. As Munchables.
Dagda's got the giggles on the desk.
What are you talking about?
We got a dragon on our hands for LNG. This will be Soul Point. And LNG looking good for it here. I don't want to curse it. I don't want to say it too soon, but it does look like we're going to 5 games.
Oh, no, not again for RNG. I mean, it's so sad. Look, seeing RNG going down to EDG, we're like, look, this was always going to be an uphill battle. EDG, a team that stylistically fit very well against them. Great team fights, great ability to play. Oh, my God.
Ala not shy on pulling the trigger there. Xiaohu forced out of the play, but will survive. Didn't have to use his flash or anything like that. Tarzan moving forward to threaten Gala. It feels like every time RNG step a toe forwards, LNG try and punish.
I mean, at this point in time, right, like, what do you do as RNG? Like, you can keep pressuring top with a LeBlanc and trying to find angles around, but for LNG, they just have so many ways to play out through this 2-lane setup. RNG don't really have avenues to break down turrets on sides, and they're kind of forced to go for these desperate plays where maybe if LNG walks a bit too far forward, you have a Cyclone come out and you can try and burst someone out. But we hit on earlier that the side of LNG, very tanky, very durable. Just look at the items they picked up.
And the majority of that burst damage has to come from Xiaohu, who was doing blue buff the entire time that was happening. So you don't actually have this upfront burst to try and deal with people underneath those towers. And Sivir can't really walk up because you can see how tanky Doomby is with the stopwatch as well. They can just dive Gal underneath these structures.
And, you know, in previous games, we talked about how LNG needed that Baron to keep pushing the ball forwards. And this composition is similar in that they need that Baron. But when they can find fights like that around the Drake, getting the Baron is no problem at all. They don't have to flip it this time around. They can play slow and steady and cautious and still find their fight.
And they even have the tools to like hard force or dive or go for these more aggressive plays if they want. You look across the board, all ultis are up. I wouldn't expect them to be too aggressive until Light's Flash does come back on the board, but that's not too far away.
And the thing is, even if you start to get control of this game now for RNG, with the amount of damage that LNG have done extending these lanes, you can never really push side lanes because Doomby shows up, you 2v1 a lane, you're in a lot of trouble. So even if RNG can try and find a pick, find something, it doesn't really slow this game down because you still got to figure out how to deal with this dragon in 3 minutes.
That's the problem, right? Because you're not at a point, and we haven't been in a meta or like a time in League of Legends for a while where you're playing for like hard commit playthrough sides, stack up towers and win that way. It has been about team fighting ever since Soul got introduced. And it's the problem for RNG is, I mean, there's a world, again, with mistakes from LNG, but even with mistakes from LNG, RNG would have to play so crazily, like impossibly good of like Shahu weaving in and out, chunking people down, like tethering them on your range, paranoia, not connecting. So many things that have to go right.
I will say, we have seen that before from RNG. We know that the caliber of player on RNG are capable of that just supreme level of play. But whether or not that can happen, and the mistakes from LNG that have to come through for that situation to arise, it feels like there's a lot of things building on top of each other here.
Yeah, not spring. Don't see it happening. Is no, like you said, for RG, they want to prove that sarcastic joke I just said wrong, right? That is exactly what they are fighting to shut down. And even just, you know, sentiment of that, you know, they can't show up when we do get the summer and when we do get closer to Worlds. And Breathe, though, hopefully can be the one to do that. Is even if it is a Gragas doesn't want to run in.
Oh my God! Ala just starts it up and finds way in the jungle. I mean, why wait? Why wait for a mistake when you can just go in? Doing B underneath the inhib towers, and it's an ultra shock and awe laser coming on through. Lumao will go down. Breathe wants to find the miracle play. Light turns golden. Breathe then shut him down. Gets the healing. Tarzan next on the target. And RNG, I don't know how they've done it, but they found that miracle play you were talking about. They found that upper echelon of gameplay.
And after being so patient for so long, LNG decide to pull the trigger out of nowhere, and it gives RNG the room. RNG have the tools with the Fiora to punish.
But it looked terrible for RNG to begin with. Way completely out of the equation as Ala decimates them in this. They aim for Gala, they get a monkey, and they're happy with that trade anyway. You get Lumao as well, able to get Gala against the wall, get a ton of damage, which means Doomby can go deep here for the Sivir. But after that, with Xiaohu coming across with a ton of damage being put onto Lumao from that tower as well, and over chasing onto Breathe with that great flash away from the follow-up Sonic Wave, it suddenly goes disastrously for LNG.
Especially just the fact that, right, all the members ended up in different directions because that wasn't really a team fight. It was like a bunch of 1v1s or like a 2v2 here, a 3v3 here. Doomby's on one side, two members are somewhere else. Ala was like back picking up the wave or something, and it just set up for RNG perfectly.
Absolute chaos from LNG, not the control gameplay that we were just talking about. They do still have control. They do still have the gold lead, and the ultimates are back available. Drake is live. This is Soul Point.
No flash for Ala. It means that he can't really get in onto the backline as easily as you would like to, which gives Gala a bit of safety.
Paranoia used. They just flip it, and Wei wins these every time. It's a great little cast, but Wei gets more knockups off the back of it, and RNG, they walk away scot-free. Thank you very much, they say.
And that's what we were just talking about. Ala doesn't have flash, so it's Doomby solo diving the backline, and you've got great peel on RNG.
Yeah, RNG, they managed to get the steal, still not able to turn it into a fight. LNG will still be up in gold, but at the same time, RNG bought themselves a valuable objective, which is just time.
Yeah, a valuable 5 minutes off of the back of that one. Baron on the cards here, and you can see RNG, you know, leaning up in that direction. Whether or not they can start that, though, I'm not sure for the time being.
No, they have the double TP, so unless they're just trying to bait some TP out from Ala or something along these lines, but I think it'd be a bit risky to try and go for that. But at the moment, they're happy to leave Breathe on bot side. They get the vision. Way will walk away from this one. I mean, RNG, the last even just 3 to 4 minutes of play has suddenly given them a burst of life in this game.
And, you know, even though they have this burst of life in gameplay, I do got to say, going back to the robot's point, the face cams, still absolutely deadpan, which could just be a sign of pure confidence. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, definite confidence. I don't think there's a single player on this stage that isn't extremely confident in their play after what we've seen from them over the course of the last 3 weeks, and rightly so. But RNG, you know, this is a team that you can never quite count out. We said earlier, this is a team that will punish mistakes. Well, that was a huge series of mistakes we've just seen from LNG.
The problem is, though, you have to do it again as RNG. And the reason LNG weren't in a position to try and follow that up as well as they had in the last one was because they had fumbled the initial play right before, right? So flashes galore were burned. Some of their spells were gone. Doomby had to try and solo dive into the backline. But when you come into your next fight, okay, well, now Ala will have the flash. You look at the build from Gala as well. He's gone full glass cannon, not going for something like a GA because he's like, look.
Oh, what? What? Ala, full glass cannon, build and breathe. Oh, sorry, Xiaohu is like, well, you know what? I've got a hammer, and hammers are real good against glass.
I mean, he must have just been like waiting in that brush and not first jump onto him because the lack of return damage is the more surprising part of the equation for me.
Especially when you have the Rabadons there as well. That's so much damage. But RNG now, they get to pick the TP, and I mean, we were counting them out. RNG say, wait, we're still well in this.
The mistakes being punished once more. Ala caught Xiao, who punishes him, and now looking for more. It's 4v5 in favor of RNG. They've been behind all game long. Are we really going to get another 50-50? No, we're not, because Xiao secures it. The coordination from Wei and Xiao there.
Not even close.
Not even anything like Spellbook Smite. No, just literally his combo as we do get the replay to see what happens. And it is Xiao having first move, being in the brush. Gonna get his full combo coming out with the double chain straight into the distortion. And that damage is absolutely huge once the electrocute follows through as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you even get the shuriken, another shuriken off there, that's it. The fact that Xiao, who one-shot him, is the only difference maker there.
I just love at the end of the replay, LeBlanc is followed, the clone is followed by the Observer instead of LeBlanc. Classic misdirection against the Observer right there. It's 10-7 on the scoreboard. RNG, though, closing that goal gap to just 1,000.
I gotta say, gents, it would be so fitting after game one, which in my mind was kind of carried by Wei, but then as well as the other members outside of Xiao, game two, kind of like a class in macro from RNG, no individual performance. If in game four, Xiao finally wakes up and is the defining member to carry them across the finish line, that would be so fitting a way for RNG to make it to World.
The ultimate proof that it ain't just Spring, that he can be a god during. Xiao playing incredibly on this LeBlanc. We'll see if he can keep it up.
The problem is, though, GA, Tarzan, Doomby, and Light all have gotten those GAs. No stopwatch for Ala, so he's going to be the main target that's Xiao who's looking for, but poke underneath this tower. You got to be so careful here. The minions will be cleared out.
Oh, Xiao can't quite finish the tower, but Galo will be able to just walk up and tap that one down. Tier 2 taken. I just want to quickly mention as well, AD carries both 4 items. So we've been talking about Xiao, we've been talking about Doomby, the top laners. The AD carries are officially online.
The AD carries now able to find their positions. For Gala, it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be a lot about surviving that dive threat, especially with 20 seconds on Dragon. But for the side of LNG, Light should have a lot of room bought for him since his team will be putting threat onto Gala.
Oh, Lumao. It's Tarzan, in fact, that gets caught by the chains, but Lumao with a cast, he's down. It's Wei to find the kill. Paranoia in as LNG won't go down without a fight. Wei trying to escape here, but Doomby turns into his GA. Breathe buying space on the front line here for the rest of his team. As Doomby comes back up, Tarzan on the back line, but outplayed by Xiaohu as Doomby falls. Tarzan will be next, flashes over the wall, but everyone from RNG follows.
That was so well played by RNG. Xiaohu gets the pick, Breathe, pops the ultimate on Doomby as he falls, so the healing is there for RNG as they kite back. And LNG, they may have just lost it. That might have been their fight for Worlds gone.
RNG are just pushing through the base. I mean, Xiaohu and Breathe are putting up so much threat right now, and it looks like they're going to go for it. They might just cement it.
They're going to try it. Very least bit of damage onto Light. Ala in the backline with a slicing Maelstrom. Gala is down. Xiaohu next to follow. And LNG, they won't let this one slip through their fingers. Breathe knocked under the Nexus towers, but that won't stop him. Onto Light he goes. Turns golden. Buys space. Buys time. But he doesn't have the health bar. Taken down by Light. And LNG hold on.
It's so close. Ala buys the time for them to come in.
And it's so close. That will give LNG the opportunity to go over towards the Soul as well. Breathe is dead for 40. Gala for 30. And LNG, they looked like they were on the ropes, but they come in with the haymaker.
And this is the game we've been waiting for all series.
And it was right here. The flank comes in from Ala. You can see Breed still trying to mark the flank himself, but he flashes and gets right on top of Gala.
Ala does it in game 4. Flandre did it in game 4 as well for EDG. These flanks have decimated RNG time and time again. And now with the Soul in the hands of LNG, Baron up soon as well. I'm feeling the silver scrapes in this one, boys.
This is absolutely mental right now. 13-10. Soul now in favor of LNG. And they've got some champions that can definitely use a Soul from the Cloud as well. It's going to be almost dead even gold at 38 minutes on the clock.
Especially now that we're seeing like more key items come out. Ala now full build. Zania's was finally completed. Light, both AD carries actually. Full build going into the next fight. But we saw the dynamic last time around. It was kind of both AD carries under so much threat from the Soul laners. Gala was able to manage to deal damage, but Light never in a position to.
2020, the first time RNG never made it to Worlds. LNG 2021, the first time they started this miracle run. 2022 will decide if a miracle run will be the norm for LNG or whether RNG will be the first MSI winners to never make it to the world stage, and it will come down to this Baron in a minute's time.
Duanbi and Lu Mao now have to prove that they were an upgrade after all, that they can do more than Icon and Iwandi could back in 2021. But RNG, like you say, they don't want to be the first in history. They want to rewrite that book.
I think especially with Breathe coming in this split. Let's remember, Breathe was not on the roster when they won MSI. And, you know, big shoes to fill. A lot of people thought when it comes to team fights, when it comes to being a facilitator, he could fill those shoes. But if he can find the win and do it on a champion like Fiora, fill that role that Bin does, it would be monumental.
So many of these wards littered across the jungle, though, for LNG and topside. Xiaohu wants to try and look for some sort of pick, but knows he can't, knows he's been spotted out, and it feels like, again, it rests on Xiaohu. Can he find the damage? Can he find the play? Can he deny a 5th game away from LNG? Breathe pushing in aside, but look at Ala. No TP in Ala, but they want to try and pick Breathe because they know they don't have the TP advantage.
Look at the respect from Breathe, though. Just backs away, knows something could happen.
Yeah, I mean, if they can find that initial pick, right, LNG gonna be able to find a fight. I think you definitely don't want to be dedicating something like a Slicing Maelstrom to only finding one member, but
unless it's Xiaohu, because that's the hell of a member to pick. And now, onto the Baron, immediately from LNG. As Duanbi just looks small. He wants to find way. That'd be the jungler down if they can finish the kill. Into the GA they go. Gala with the final chapter, but they're not going to be able to save their jungler here. The laser on through. Gala has to flee, and Light on his tail.
Look,
LNG might just do it.
Look at the base, though. Breathe is going for the end. Duanbi needs the back. So you look at Light, you look at Gala to see if Gala can try and put pressure, but 2 are reset. Ala has no teleport or no Slicing Maelstrom, so you're looking at RNG trying to bait it, but LNG will get the Baron.
LNG get the Baron. They're going to be able to buy themselves more time, have the pushing power to contend, but still RNG having 2 inhibitors. I don't think this game's going to be decided right now. I feel like we might be waiting until next Elder before we have, you know, the final fight on our hands.
We finally get the banger that can live up to the rest of playoffs. This pick onto Xiaohu, though. Lu Mao playing it beautifully.
And this is what we're talking about. The amount of vision that LNG had set up already into that position meant that Xiaohu wasn't going in unbeknownst to LNG. Great cast, great kick, great kill onto Xiaohu. And now RNG will have to see if they can reassess the situation. They do have good vision control set up on this bottom side, but if you look at the timer between the Baron and the Dragon, they're essentially just synced up. Like, you have to now deal with both of these at the same time.
Especially with the fact that LNG know, right, that Xiaohu's playing for these windows to come out from his own jungle. I mean, heck, even Breathe here, right? They're constantly checking as a unit, using, you know, these scrying orbs. They're putting down wards, and without that flank or without that side angle for Xiao to find the pick like we saw in earlier fights, it does feel a lot harder. But even Breathe at this point in time, with the GA, should be able to deal a monumental amount of damage.
Yeah, lasers coming on over full builds pretty much across the board at this stage as everyone just finishing off their last couple of items. Tarzan on the flank here trying to threaten. Lumao taking a lot of damage just from the ricochets. We'll have the happy hour from that Gragas passive. Elder though up in a minute and a half.
Doomby need to reset to deal with the super creeps that were coming into the bottom side, so it will give RNG a bit of breathing room, opportunity to push out top, push out mid. You won't get full use out of this barrened up creeps from LNG, and you can see, at least for the moment, RNG feeling a bit more confident to step up and out of their base.
This is a tense one. Just 2,000 gold is the lead for LNG, but they've got that Cloud Soul and Elder coming up in just over a minute, and it feels like this might just come down to one final team fight, and that's scary for LNG because the way that the actual team fights have been going this game, have all been in favor of LNG.
And right, I mean, it's all down to on how they execute these team fights. Like, if we just come into where both teams are just ramming their fists at each other, that's when LNG's composition feels good, especially with Ala being on this full build, having that Slicing Maelstrom. So we said for RNG, it's a little bit more delicate.
Ala also having that flash is so important. This is the first time in the last 2 fights he's actually had that flash up and available, had that TP up and available as well, and this is where Breathe actually might try and blow it on him.
I don't know if he can, though, with the Zhonya's in pocket for Breathe. Just gonna sneak out, grab a red buff. Why not?
Yeah, gets that on board, but still, Xiao actually just TP'd back onto the map, so RNG wanting to keep up some presence. Baron in 20, Dragon in 15, and both teams on opposite sides of the map.
Light trying to make the play. That's a Cyclone burn 10 seconds before Elder is onto the map. That's huge for LNG.
And Light did nothing except just jump at him, and you can see how scared Wei is. He's gone for a very squishy build that is very damage focused, but that damage no longer there with the Cyclone down, and you have to see now if RNG can make the play. Lumao, we've seen him do these incredible engages on supports in the past. Looking back at 2020 where he set the bar meta, where he found the engage JDG needed to win the championship. He's trying to find these flanks.
RNG aren't even going to fight for the Elder Dragon. They're conceding this one now, finally moving over, but it's too late.
It's gone? They're just going to give it over. They were trying to play through the split push. They didn't feel confident looking for the 5v5, and now LNG are just going to want to pull the trigger.
Paranoia is available. You've got to keep your eyes on Doomby in situations like this. LNG with an Elder Dragon, they have the tools to find their final fight, and they have the ways to just make that fight happen as well.
And this is the thing, you've got a minute left on that inhibitor in the bottom side of the map as well, so you will only get 2 more super creeps coming out of that. There's no way that you can have, like, Breathe, TP down to the bot side and try to end. As long as Ala deals with creeps on this bot side, LNG can then have him TP in later, but it's going to be tough now for RNG. No way to really fight against this Elder. Their only good news is this wave clear from Gala to try and keep LNG off their base.
Exactly. It's going to be a push and pull coming out from RNG, right? You expect them to commit Breathe down to that side lane, just have this force kind of weave in and out in front of LNG, clear waves, and put LNG in this position where they're like, hey, we have Elder. We need to find a decisive engage now. If RNG's 4-man core can disengage from that and give time for the Fiora, maybe that's their only route.
The dive for LNG is insane, though.
Yeah.
3 GAs available on Tarzan, Doomby, Light. You give that first run through of the GA just to use this Elder buff. So you can see RNG trying desperately to get the poke to push LNG back, but they're knocking on the door.
Here they go, diving the back line. Gala the target. Doomby has to back away once more. It will be the inhib tower taken down. LNG make their way into the base. 1 inhib falls. Breathe trying to threaten on the other side of the map, but he might lose the game if he stays on that side. Tarzan moves forward. 1 tower down, but the TP will be denied here. LNG onto the Nexus, and they've done it. They've made it to game 5.
And RNG once again put in this position. LNG able to bring the momentum forward. It might have gotten dicey in the mid game, but the team fighting was there.
And a man who will definitely react to a win like that, Doomby with the biggest thumbs up in the world from the side of his screen. LNG knew how close that one had gotten, but they get it across the finish line.
That was so close, so tense, but LNG, most importantly, not making too many massive mistakes this game, right? We did see, you know, the one